at the start, John, did you have any high-level comments about, like, you haven't really seen the presentation. I've shown you an overview of what I'll get into.
Standard recording procedures.
Yeah. My standard MO. But I think I've come from a financial advice background. Yeah. I'm, like to think I'm in the weeds a little bit more on some financial products than you. And I think it's really good while you know what day it is, there might be some things that you will ask that someone else might be thinking.
For the audience. Yeah. So I think, like, when you look at superannuation, a lot of people, especially early age, think, well, I can't access it till I'm 60-ish, so I'll just let it do its thing and often not ignore it, but just it trickles along in the background. I'll wake up when I'm 40 or something and worry about it. So I think it needs more attention than that. And there are, as we'll go through, many benefits. And obviously it's the biggest tax haven, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a legal tax haven in Australia.
At the minute.
Yeah.
Hopefully nothing changes in that space.
Well, it probably will, but I think we know that it will always be more tax advantageous for the run-of-the-mill garden variety Aussie to use superannuation for long-term wealth accumulation.
Yeah. And I think it's also important to understand, yes, my money's going into this thing called superannuation, but where is it actually getting invested? So that's important.
All right. Well, we'll get into the old Prezi tea. So, look, eligibility. There were questions in the Facebook group about who can have a super account. You basically have to be an Australian resident. Like, you don't have to be a citizen. You could also be here working for a few years and go home. So pretty much anyone here can have a super account. And we'll get to it kind of in the coming slides, but to get money into super through an employer contribution, so that mandated 12%, you need to be over 18 or earn more than $450 a month, and then your employer must pay super, okay? If you are under 18, you must work for more than 30 hours per week to be eligible. Now, this one here, so that's kind of the tax efficient, we'll say, at the moment, the employee contributions, which go in pre-tax. That's one way to get money in. The other way is through personal contributions, which we get paid. We have that money in our bank account. Then we transfer that money in. You can pretty much be any age to set up a super account. So some people say, oh, I've got kids, I want to set up a super account. What do they? Well, you just need a tax file number for your 5-year-old, and you need to find a super fund that will allow an application in. Some of them won't do it, but by law, if a 5-year-old gets their tax file number, you can set up a super fund for them, okay? And anyone under 75 years old can put money in through a personal contribution. Now, if you're age 67 to 74, you don't need to meet the work test anymore. However, that's for the non-concessional post-tax contributions, but the test applies if you want to have tax deductions. So most of the audience here is well under that, but that was just some housekeeping. Okay, so where does super sit? And this slide, and a lot of people don't realise this, John, but your personal estate or your assets that fall into your will, it could be a house in your name, it could be your bank accounts, could be your car, investments in your name, an investment property in your name, your personal belongings, all that stuff. If you die, your estate, aka potentially your will govern what happens to those assets. It's important to note that superannuation is a trust, and you must tell the trustee where to pay the death benefits, because superannuation falls outside of your estate.
And if that's not nominated, what happens?
Yeah, it's a good question. The trustee will use their own discretion.
So choose wisely.
Choose wisely. And we'll talk about beneficiaries later on. But it's really important to note that, your superannuation, and it's the same with the family trust. It sits outside of your own estate. An investment bond sits outside of your estate. So, but then again, for example, the house situation, if you're married to Amy, your home is likely in joint tenants. So if you die, your share of the house bypasses your estate and just goes direct to Amy. So there are carve-outs for different things here.
Yeah.
But, strictly speaking, super does not form part of your estate.
Cool.
Any questions, young one?
I don't think I've got too many questions there. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it?
Yep. All right, getting money into superannuation. Two broad ways. The first way is the concessional pre-tax contributions. So a concessional contribution. The annual cap is $30,000 per year. Now, this $30,000 concessional cap is made up of what your employer puts in. So, for example, if your employer put $10,000 for a financial year into your super fund, you will have $20,000 spare in that cap. Before 2020, I think 17, 18, 19, around, I forget at the time, there was a change that you could use the unused concessional caps. So if you had 5 years running of $10,000 going into super and you sold an investment property, you could, in theory, 5 times 20, $100,000, you could move in one financial year $100,000 into superannuation, claim that $100,000 on your own tax return, so it's a tax offset, and the super fund pays the 15% tax if your account is under $500,000.
So that still occurs today?
Yes.
Right. So the question is for someone in their 20s or 30s that's listening in today, it's like, well, should I be maxing out? Because you need to be, rough maths say you might need to be on over 200,000 for that 30 to be capped out by the employer.
Yeah.
So do I concentrate on that? Right. Now, maybe a story for another day, but I've got so many other things I want to be doing outside of super as well. So people can become maybe not disillusioned, but it's like, gee, I can only take my money so many different ways.
Yeah. And we will get to it, but broadly speaking, super is the most tax-effective environment to store wealth for the long term. But if you need that wealth before age 60, you don't put it in.
Yeah.
So, and we'll get to that as the conversation progresses. The next way to get money in is after tax. So they call this a non-concessional contribution, and the annual cap is currently $120,000 per year. You can actually use 3 years, bring forward in the one go, and put $360,000 in. Or you could do 120 in June, and then in July, then your 360. So you can be a bit strategic to get more money into superannuation.
Okay. So our concessional is 5 years, our non-concessional is 3 years.
Yeah, but the concessional looks backwards at what hasn't been used, and the non-concessional lets you pull the $120,000 a year forward. It's important to note every few years they index. So, in a couple of years it might go up to 32,500 or something like that. I'm quite sure it indexes by $2,500 when that threshold hits. Again, not too relevant in this intermediate little session. Okay, so this is just a little bit of a diagram for those who are watching on YouTube, and we'll try and explain it for those driving. You'll see here we get paid our salary. Our employer puts 12% of our salary into super. There's 15% tax that gets taken off as it enters the super fund. So that's called a contributions tax. Then if we, got our salary, we take our tax away, and if you're earning more than $45,000 a year, that tax rate is 30%, and then the money goes into your bank account. So a couple of things here, John. If, for example, you had that $10,000 that your employer put in, and then you had a spare $10,000 that year that you wanted to save for the future, it would just kind of go through this same mechanism. You could tell your boss to salary sacrifice, a couple $100 a week. Again, it would go in less 15% tax. And the thing here is 15% tax is less than 30% tax. Okay?
Half.
So that's why it's, an incentive to save money for the future and pay less tax. Now, what you can do as well, at the end of the financial year, you can not salary sacrifice, but just put $10,000 in before the end of the financial year into your super fund and claim that as a personal contribution. So on your tax return, you'll put, yes, I put $10,000 into the super fund. I need to offset my tax by $10,000, and you need to let the super fund know that this is a tax deductible contribution, and you'll log in and tick a box intent to claim, that you intend to claim this $10,000 on your tax return, and then they will take 15% tax off that, or $1,500.
So this is really a conversation that you're having with your accountant, ideally prior to June 30 each year.
Yeah, if you're not salary sacrificing each week. So both roads lead to Rome, but there's a bit of flexibility here. Maybe if you're self-employed, or you just choose that, well, we're just going to build wealth throughout the year, leave money on the offset account. At the start of June every year, we'll have a look at our caps. We'll have a look. Well, we've got $10,000 free. Well, let's put $5,000 in super, and let's put another $5,000 in investments in our own name.
And worst case, if you didn't get around to it before that June 30, then you can go back any case that 5-year period with the concessions.
Well, and this is where you have to be careful. If you don't match it this year, you'll have to, like if you're a week late and it lands in the super account on the 1st of July, it's going to be in the next financial year.
Yeah.
Now, the trick is you've got to just look at the last 5 years. That 5 years ago, that could have a higher gap. You want to use that before it rolls off.
Yeah.
So,
and the gap's changed as well. Oh, sorry, not the gap, the max contributions changed as well.
They index every few years. So anyway, let's move along. So the tax rates, again, in super, it's 15%. So concessional contributions go in and they're taxed 15%, and any earnings within the super fund is taxed at 15%, where if you had shares in your own name, any earnings would be taxed at whatever your tax rate is. So pretty simple there. When you're over 60 and stop working, if you wanted to start an account-based pension, you can move up to $2 million into the pension account, and earnings will be taxed at 0%. So you can effectively have money grow at 0% and withdraw the income tax-free.
Pretty cool. So again, getting into the weeds a little bit for a minute is, well, okay, I go and put 10,000 into shares in my own name.
Yep.
And I get taxed at my tax rate, which is,
32
let's say it's highest, like 45, right?
Yep.
That tax, obviously I'm paying more than if it was in super, but I want to access that prior to after selling those shares, so I don't want to put it in my super because I'm only 30.
That's the trade-off.
Right, I'm 30 years till I can access those gains.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's...
But I'm paying tax because financially you'd say, well, why wouldn't I be taxed at 15%?
Oh, super. So the question is often, should I pay down the mortgage or invest? Over a long enough period of time, minimum mortgage repayments and investing will generally have a net positive.
Yeah.
Then we go, okay, do I invest in my own name or in super or pay off the mortgage? You do it in super, it will be 1,000,000 times more tax efficient because of the internal tax at 15%.
Yeah.
But it goes back to that trade-off. What are you prepared to sacrifice and build your future with?
It's also good from the point of view of, I put it in there, I can't access it. That's a good thing for my personality.
That's right. Yeah. So again, personal finance, personal. It is a trade-off. Okay, so I don't want to get into the weeds too deep here because of the intermediate nature of this presentation. But effectively, inside superannuation, there's two broad, they call them tax components. There's taxable and tax-free. Now, this can get crazy fast. The taxable portion can actually have taxed and untaxed, but we'll just forget that for now, everyone. But effectively, when your employer puts in their contribution, your 12% superannuation guarantee, it falls in the taxable component. If you put $10,000 post-tax into your super fund, or up to that $120 a year, that goes into the tax-free component.
Because you've already paid tax.
Because you've already paid tax on it. So that's just a bit of a 101 there. So John, you might be thinking, that's all well and good. Well, how do I invest? Well, we're going to have a look at investments right after this. Hey, it's Glen here. Thank you so much for watching today's video. You made it to the end. Can I ask a favor? Can you hit that like button and maybe hit subscribe if you want to get notified when we release further videos just like this one, whether you watch the Money podcast or Retire Right. And remember, if you want to learn more about investing, I've got an investing book, The Quick Start Guide to Investing, and there's a link in the description to get your hands on a copy. Thank you so much. Bye.